Welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator, where we discuss how real estate brokers can accelerate their growth by improving their agent recruiting and retention. I'm Jim Turner, and we're going to discuss real estate brokerage growth tactics with our special guest, who's an expert in the industry. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Jim Turner, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Brokerkit, and I'll be your host today. Today on the show, we're very excited to have Tony Ketterling, who is out in Salt Lake City and the CEO of Equity Real Estate. Tony, welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator.
Thank you.
So maybe let's start out with your background, walk through the progression since you entered real estate to all the way to kind of how you became the CEO of Equity there.
I've been in real estate for about 27 years now. So I've seen a lot come and go and been with different companies and did different things and just kind of progressed through that. I really wasn't looking to become a broker, kind of like I wasn't looking to become a CEO. It just kind of ended up falling in my lap. But I ended up going to work with Equity back in 2010 after a stint with a couple other companies and owning a franchise with another company. And Equity approached me and said, hey, we got a little bit different program that we do, and I'd love for you to come and manage a brokerage. So 275 agents later, I'm managing a brokerage, and I'm also the CEO of the company. Back in 2018, a group of us purchased from our founder the company. We had a CEO in place for about 5 years. Didn't really grow too much. The CEO in place was more of a CFO and was handling the money stuff and not really growth. He didn't understand it. When he was getting ready to retire, we said I would take over as interim. And then as I took over as interim, I said, I got about 4 or 5 years left of me that I want to do this stuff. I have some really good ideas of where we could take our company and where the industry's going. And I said, I'll take over as CEO. So ended up doing that. Been CEO now for about 18, 19 months. And it's been a ride. Obviously, in the real estate world, there's been a lot of things that have happened.
Lots happened.
Probably that's why I joke about getting the short straw, because most of my other owners were very happy that I ended up taking over and running it during that time. And then we've started to grow. I think that's where I first met you, Jim, saying, hey, we wanted to grow our company. And so that's the direction we've went. And it's been good. 18 months, more like in the last 12, I had to right the ship and get people on board. I brought people back to the office. I started out with a staff of 15, and 3 of them made it back to the office, and the rest I replaced. My issue was I just wanted them back in the office, and they wanted to work from home. So I said, well, there's lots of companies you can work from home with, but Equity just doesn't happen to be one of them. Went through that with all of our staff, and we have a great staff right now. Everything's working great. We got that done. And then for the last 12 months.
Since you had people come back to the office, what's been the impact? Like, does it feel like things are getting done easier? Is it more efficient?
I like to run teams, and it's kind of hard to create a team when you're in different areas and stuff. Part of it was bringing them back so that we could do that. I tried to work with as many people as I could, but getting them back here has really made us a lot more efficient. It's nice to be able to walk down the hall and say, hey, I've got this idea, or I'm working on this, or can we implement this? Can we put this in as something we're sending to our brokers? It's just much easier than trying to do that through a Zoom call, Zoom meeting, or on the phone.
Yeah.
Our in-person, you're just more efficient. And, I'm sorry if there's a bunch of people working from home, you're just more efficient. And I have a daughter that works for a large company, has worked from home for 10 years, and she's very efficient, but you don't always get that. I believe everybody was working, but how efficiently? Obviously, I've got less staff now and we're getting more done. So that tells me we're a lot more efficient.
Wow, that's saying something. And so you've got your own brokerage, and then you're managing, or you're CEO of the overall brand. And it's kind of like franchisees, but it's a hybrid, right?
Yeah, we're not franchise. We partner with our brokers around the country. So we have about 63 brokers around the country, anywhere from Florida to Pennsylvania to we just opened up in Nashville. So we're kind of all over the country. I think we're in 30 states now. We're just growing, and there's a real need for that. One of the reasons that I felt like I could really help with the growth is because of where I came from. I said, look, I don't want to be a broker. But then when I was told, well, this is everything that equity will do for me, and all you really have to do is help the agents grow their business, answer questions, and do all the stuff I was doing anyway, because I was so many people's past broker. They were calling me rather than their own broker, that I thought, well, why not? So I ended up doing that in 2010 and built my brokerage to, we go anywhere from 275 to 300. We have an industry of turnover. That's one of the things that has been important to us as a company that I've been teaching all of our brokers. You have to be recruiting on a daily basis or you're going backwards. Turnover in our industry. Not always people leaving your company to go to another company, more so getting out of the industry completely.
Right.
So old coming out, leaving, it's a constant effort on our side.
It's 200 to 300 within your brokerage. And how many agents is it across equity, across all those offices?
We have 3,500. Yeah.
Are you effectively recruiting agents for your own brokerage and then partners, I guess would be the term you used, in those other? So you're kind of doing both.
Yep. I have a managing broker that helps me with recruiting on the brokerage side. I have a national sales director that helps me with finding brokers to get brought on with us here. And then that's been a whole, when all of a sudden we went from not having any brokers for about a 10-year period to where we've brought on now 13 in the last 12 months. Mm-hmm. Even though we have a great system, there's a whole bunch of pains that you go through on how do you onboard them and how do you teach them to recruit and do all of the things that they need to do to run a brokerage. And that's been fun and challenging, getting some great results.
And when you're recruiting within your own brokerage, how do you explain the value proposition to agents out there in the marketplace? Why should they join equity? And what do you teach to those other office leaders on how to sell equity, essentially?
Whenever we're talking about equity, we're a little bit different. Our brokers have the ability to charge what they want. Most of our people are fee-based. They pay us a fee when they close a property. Our agents are full service commissioned agents. They negotiate their transaction and how much they earn. It's just how much they pay us. So when I say it's a fixed cost, it's a fixed cost to us. They still are getting their percentage and the amount of money that they earn, which is typically what the industry does out there. I always look at it, being a past business owner, I was like, we're their cost of goods, right? It's like I owned a printing business. We're the paper that I bought to print my job on to sell out to the other people. That's what we do. Our agents do that. So when I'm talking to agents, I say, look, here's the nice thing about equity. You have the ability to be in business for yourself and be able to negotiate and do what you need to do on your side to have your business. So if you've got a client that needs to, maybe they need a little bit of help in selling their property and they're buying another property, you may adjust your stuff. Just understand you have an overhead with me and that's what you pay. And as long as you cover that, I'm okay with you doing whatever you want to do. We definitely push that. We know how hard this industry is. We definitely say, don't be a discount type agent out there. Make sure that you are a professional, following up with your clients, doing all the things that we teach you to do and that you know to do as an agent. And then that way you are the professional out there, but you have an overhead that you have to cover. Sometimes you might have to make an adjustment. You might have to buy a refrigerator. It's funny, but I will have agents say to me, I've never discounted anything that I earn. And I'm like, really? You've never helped with a home warranty? You've never, bought a refrigerator or helped them put the yard, different things like that. And that's part of being in real estate. We just give them the ability to do how they want to do it. And that's what equity is about. And then we're full service. You have everything on the back end that you need. You have websites, our back end services. We process your payrolls or your commissions for you. We do all of that. So you can just focus on taking care of your client.
Right. That's interesting, that example you gave of the refrigerator. I mean, people would remember that more than a discount anyway, right? That's going to be super memorable.
Of course.
Yeah.
And sometimes that just happens. I mean, there have been times that I've sold houses where the refrigerator was negotiated in, the people were moving out of state. Your buyer walks in the door and the refrigerator's gone and you negotiated it. And for some reason, lots of times the agent thinks, well, I can't chase down that seller across the country to get a refrigerator. And so I want to take care of my clients. So they buy a refrigerator. Clients remember that. And it's just more, hey, how can we help service the client? I look at it with equity. Our end user is the real estate client. That's the buyer, the seller, the investor. Those are the people. They're our client. And so whatever we can do to support them in the very best way and professional way, that's what we do. So we do that on the real estate side. Our partners that partner with us at Equity, we take care of them just like we want their agents taking care of their clients. So we're giving them services. We're helping them grow their business through different things that we have. I think that's where I first met you, Jim, in recruiting. And so when we first met, you had mentioned Brokerkit. I took a look at that and seen, hey, this is something that we had been missing. We're real data driven with us. We know how much we close every year, what our average commission is, what the average sales price is, how many each of our agents sell. We do all that data, but we could never really do anything with it. So this way now we can with our thing, because not only is recruiting important, and I think you and I have talked about this, Jim. It's like, yeah, you work real hard to recruit somebody, but then how hard do you work to retain them? How hard do you work to keep them? And if you don't have systems in place to do that, just human nature is you get busy and you're just recruiting the next one. And then all of a sudden, one of your real good agents comes up to you and says, I'm leaving and going here because I haven't heard from you.
You're on the hamster wheel of constantly working hard to just replace who walked out the door. Speaking of that, what do you consider the ideal agent profile for your own brokerage and overall? What do you recommend to the partners? Is it new agents, experienced agents, anything in particular? What makes a good agent?
You have to determine whether they're going to be a full-time agent or part-time agent. A full-time agent is a person that they're going to need to be closing at least 12 to 15 transactions a year. A part-time agent is going to be somewhere between 3 and 7 transactions a year. I've got some wonderful part-time agents that sell 5 to 7 transactions a year. They're a nurse or school teacher, or we've got a couple of firefighters that work. They have spare time that they can do stuff. And as long as you have systems in place, they can be professional and not feel like they don't know what they're doing. Even part-time people can know what they're doing as long as they're professional. That's the way we look at it. It's been a little bit different though, Jim. I was just talking with somebody in my office and they were saying they'd been watching a bunch of TikToks. Everybody on TikTok says the market's going to crash. What they don't understand is that we're not in a market that's going to crash because we don't have any inventory yet. We stopped building homes in 2008 and we didn't start building them again probably till 2012. So you had about 4 or 5 years where hardly any homes were built and we can't catch up. We've been trying, but we can't catch up because of the lack of inventory. That holds prices good. You've got your equities that are still growing. But what you find out is if there's a slow up, we've gone through it the last 2 years. I think you've probably felt it. We went from about 15,000 transactions a year is what we were closing back in 20 and 21 to where we went down to about 9,000 transactions. That adjustment has already happened with the real estate industry. I've talked to brokers all across the country, and they've all said, yes, we're 20, 30% down in transactions closed. We're still closing transactions, just not as many of them. Where I think we're at, and I've been listening to a lot of the economists, is that it's coming back. It's going the other direction. We should see interest rates make some moves here in the next little bit. People have been in their houses since COVID. They stayed home, had children, and now they got too many kids. They don't have room for their kids. And so they start looking at that. When interest rates are in 7, 7.5, going up on 8, we'll deal with putting 3 kids in 1 bedroom. But when rates start to drop down and get into the 6 area, they start thinking a little bit about it. They're like, maybe we can make the move. And that's kind of what we're starting to see break loose now.
It definitely feels like real estate has been leading the economy overall. I'm in a business coaching group called EF. It was funny because I was starting to talk about the economy really feels like it's starting to seize up, definitely in real estate. And everybody else is like, oh, everything's great. And now it's kind of like you're hearing that in other industries because it's kind of leading it, which I agree.
I think real estate's always been known for being the last into the recession and the first out of the recession. We were last into the recession going into 2021, part of 22. We still were doing really well. Then we were the last to come into the recessionary type business. Now, I think we're going to be the first to come out of that. I'm hoping for our economy and our country that we're going to start to come out of it and things are going to start looking rosier.
Yeah.
Everybody out there is in this state of right now, I don't know what's going to happen. I wish I had a crystal ball. I wish I knew, but I can see trends and what's starting to happen, even across our states, we're picking up. So I think
Yep.
that's what we're going to see.
And then back to agents, you talk about
Mhm.
part-time, full-time. Of the full-time agents you've hired, you've probably developed some pattern matching and who's
Yeah.
really going to work out, right? It's hard to make to a science, but through your time in recruiting agents, what are the things that you tend to look for now that you've learned over time are predictive of success, whether it be kind of personality, their experience, sales
Yeah.
experience, different things. Like, what do you look for? What do you think is predictive of people that feel like they would work out?
The very first thing I look for is, can I trust you? And are you a good person? Are you going to do the things that you say you're going to do? Because if you're in real estate and you can do that with your clients, you're going to be fine. I look at when I interview them, and I've interviewed thousands of agents, I always usually ask them, what are you looking for in a brokerage? And they'll tell me the things that they're looking for. If they say to me, I just want to make some easy money and I just want to get out there and do that, those are people that I just know are probably not going to make it in this industry. There's a lot of work to it. When they're saying to me, I want to take care of people that are buying and selling real estate, or I do take care of people. That's my main focus is on my client. Those are the people I really gravitate to. And then I always say, look, with me, you just need to be honest and you need to communicate. I always say, as a broker, I'm managing 275 of them. If something goes wrong, it's my butt on the line. I always say to agents, there's no dumb question in real estate that you can ask me unless you're asking me that question and we're sitting in front of the division because you forgot to call me and got yourself in trouble. And now I'm in trouble. So I'm looking for people that will communicate with me. And then I say to them, I will communicate back with you. And if I can have that type of stuff, then I can train them on all the other things they need to do, like how to build a database, how to manage their database, how to keep people happy inside that, and those types of things. But they have to have that work ethic to do that. Are they going to show up? Are they going to be honest? Are they going to be ethical? If they'll do that, I can teach them the rest of the stuff. When you said sales, I have a gentleman that joined me 4 years ago. He's an old iron worker from San Francisco. He would drive 3.5 hours to work and 3.5 hours home every day.
He's tough.
Then he would work 8 hours up, and he call it sled with a big 18-pound sledge pounding, those big bolts on buildings. When he came to work for me in San Francisco, I lived, 3.5 miles outside of San Francisco. When he moved here, he had no sales experience. I remember him coming into my assistant and saying, could you help me set up an email? He was that raw. We took him and we said, look, tell us about yourself. He loved people. He'd talk to anybody. He was genuine. He wanted to succeed. And so we took him into that and we started working with him on that. This year, he's going to make well into the 6-figure income. And this guy didn't know how to do an email 4 years ago, but he takes care of his clients. He takes care of his people. So it doesn't necessarily have to be sales experience.
Right.
Sometimes that goes against them. It's more, who are you? Are you ethical? Are you going to communicate with your client? Are you going to help them get the best deal or sell their house for the most possible? And that's what I look for.
Like clearly has work ethic with a job like that. He's got an extreme work ethic. I love how you touched on integrity. And what that reminds me of is my brother he's got a PhD in organizational psychology, and he's like a CEO coach now, but he studied all these tests for personality assessments. And he said the one thing most predictive of what people are going to be like in real life is an integrity test. It's more predictive than anything, because if they have integrity, they're going to be straight up with you. When you're talking to them, you understand what they're going to really be like. They're not overselling you, right? And the people that have that sales experience maybe are comfortable overselling, basically, compared to what they can deliver on, maybe.
Yeah, it goes back to that saying is like, do you want to, overpromise and underdeliver, or underpromise and overdeliver? Always the underpromise and overdeliver is better, because that is when the integrity comes in. Just don't lie. If you don't lie, you don't have to remember what you said, because it's the truth, right? So you're not really running into that. But it's the same thing when it comes to real estate. And you would much rather tell a person up front, especially when the market slows up, you would much rather tell a person up front, look, I would rather disappoint you today than in 6 months, because I took this listing at an overpriced amount that is not going to sell. You hired me to be the professional and tell you what it's going to do. This is what I feel it's going to do. And that having that type of integrity with a client is important. Somebody comes in and says, oh yeah, I can sell this for $100,000 more. I can do this for you, just to get that listing, just to get that client. And then they're backpedaling the whole time. And then what happens? It ends up not selling, or they end up having a bad taste in their mouth because they do sell, but a much less price. And then we're the bad guy, right? If I would have just been honest in the beginning, everything would have been fine.
Right. So the question is, how do you find those people? I mean, I'm curious how you found the Ironworker guy. Is it word of mouth, referrals, marketing, events, some mix of all those things?
Yeah. So, well, before I met you, I kind of had an idea what I was looking for, but I really couldn't pinpoint what I was looking for. And so I would do a lot of things like check with the schools. We do a referral program with ours. If an agent refers me, every time that agent closes a transaction, we give them $100. They're not going to make a fortune doing that, but we've paid out over $13 million in $100 increments to our agents because they refer people to us. And so I would say the biggest part of how we get business is our 3,500 agents love what we're doing as a job, what we're doing for them. And so they're referring people to us. And the other thing is what you talked about. I do events. We do trainings. I'll bring in trainings into the office and invite other companies around to do that, because a lot of brokers don't do that. They're busy out selling real estate because they have to do that to survive. And so we do that. And lots of times agents come in and go, man, I'm in another brokerage. We don't ever do this kind of stuff. They're looking for that type of thing. The other thing that we do, which your company and the company we've been working with is really good with data. And data is really important to us. We're getting even better at that because we can now pinpoint who had a sell today, who took a listing today, who put somebody under contract today. You couldn't do it just on your own. I'd be on the MLS all day long pulling down that information. I can now set up filters to find that stuff. And then those are the people I can reach out to. It's a simple reach out. It's like, hey, Jim, congratulations on that listing on Elm Street. It's really cool to see you're out there working hard, and I let my agents know you've got this thing. But congratulations. That can be in a text, a phone call, or an email. But I guarantee you their broker never called them and told them that. Yeah. They just didn't. And so we've just been able to get a lot better at our analytics that we can then take. I don't need that because they were tracking our buying patterns. Data has become so important that way. One of the things that I love about the program with Brokerkit and with Realtix is that we can see if a agent is thinking about making a move, because they do certain things before they do that. They might pull back and not list as many properties because they know they can't take the listings with them. There's certain things they do, and we can tag them as a better opportunity for us to talk to them. Very seldom does a person pick up the other end of the phone and I say, hey, I'm Tony with Equity. I would love to have you come talk to me about joining my brokerage. And them say, yes, I'm coming right now and joining your brokerage. But guess what? As I put them into campaigns, which I've been able to build through being, and that was the thing we were missing before, was being able to build those campaigns for those agents. Those campaigns send out things that we do as a company, right? So they may not want to join me right now because they're super happy, but maybe they open up an email that says that I have a 90-minute guarantee that I'm going to call you, text you, or email you back. And they haven't been able to get a hold of their broker for 5 days. And they're mad. Right. So now I'm in the right place at the right time. And then they'll reach back out to me. And that gives me the opportunity to maybe have them make the change. It's letting them know what it is that you can do to help them. And then hopefully you're in the right place at the right time. Like they got their commission check and they took so much out of their commission check. They're like, I'm so mad. And then they see that we take less and they go, oh, well, maybe I ought to talk to Tony.
Staying top of mind. This is like straight out of one of my training courses, and you haven't gone to it too. So he's saying this unprompted, which I love for the folks that might have gone through my trainings. But staying top of mind. I mean, at the end of the day, right? It's interesting because like with email and texting and all that, what it almost allows people to be is more direct than they would be in person. because of all this virtual stuff. People tend to be almost too direct when they communicate because it's about building relationships with people. If you went to an event, you're not going to walk straight up to someone and say, you should join my brokerage. There's going to be at least a little small talk. Events are great because you can go talk to 30 people at once, but they're not all going to join your brokerage. You've got to keep in touch. And we love the Realytics alerts for the listing updates because it gives you a reason to keep in touch with people.
There's a reason to reach out and start building that relationship. You kind of attribute recruiting to dating, right? And then getting married. You didn't walk up to your spouse and say, hey, honey, will you marry me the first time you met her? You walked up and said, hey, I like you. Can we go out? We go out. We like each other a little bit. And we dated for a while. That's what happens in real estate too. You're going to date these agents for a while. You may see them at events. You may go to coffee with them. It's never about come join me right now. It's more like, hey, I like you. I'm showing interest in you. And if that's something that works in, you reciprocate that back and you're looking for something like that back, I think we're a good match. If not, let's just keep dating. And if we don't want to date anymore, just tell me and that's fine. I'm a big texter. When somebody has a closing, I will text them. It's like, congratulations on your closing. I know how hard it is in this market to earn a living. And I'm just so thankful that there are big professionals out there like yourself that are closing transactions. Way to go. That's it. That's all I do. I used to say, if you paid more than whatever that is.
Yes.
Now they say, well, you don't even know me and you think I'm paying too much, right?
The other thing is, what I love about that text, by the way, is you didn't ask for anything. You didn't go straight for, hey, come on in, let's meet. You're just trying to make sure they have a great day and they feel proud about what they accomplished. And that's what's going to stick in their mind. And the next time you see them at that event, you go up and say hello, they're going to remember that. Get that little flash of dopamine in their brain.
And the other thing too, Jim, is when you're saying, how do you identify them? You're going to be sending texts to the same people because they're closing more transactions. Right. So as you do that, you start to identify them. And if you can track that, which we can do now, then we know where they're at in their career. I can say, look, you've had a great year this year. If I've built enough of a relationship with them, then I can start having conversations about, have you thought about your bottom line? What did you spend this year to be a real estate agent? Maybe we could look at what we could do with equity. But if I do that the very first time we meet, they're like, I don't know you. Why would I have that conversation? But if I've sent them 4 texts, we've gone to coffee, and now, they close their 5th thing and I say, you know what, we should get together and talk about what you're doing. How come you're doing so great? Maybe I might be able to help you put more money in your pocket.
So you've got the courtship going on. You're not going straight to Las Vegas for the shotgun wedding. It's
right.
And maybe those first 3 texts, you said 4 texts in coffee, first 3 is just, hey, congrats. You're not even asked for anything. That next one you ask for the meeting, they're probably going to say yes, right?
Yeah. And you get a little more interactive with them if they answer the text back, and they maybe say something that opens up for you to maybe say something back to them. But no, I don't think that's the way to build a business, because even if you get people to join because you get them there by trickery or made them feel bad, and then they have one little ounce of unhappiness, they're going to go. And I'm looking for people that want to come on and stay on with me.
Right. So you get them to agree to that coffee. How do you approach that conversation?
So again, it's about them. I always ask them how they are doing. What are their plans? Do they have some goals this year that they're planning with real estate? Are they being able to take some time off? Just things about them and their life and business, not really about me or about equity. I want to get to know them. And once I get to know them, I find out what it is. I used to like system dump, right? Like, hey, we've got this, blah, 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 and you just tell everybody everything you have and they just kind of glaze over. I just started saying, look, what's important to you in a brokerage and a broker? What are you looking for? And then they'll say what they're looking for. And then that's the only thing I focus on. So when we're having coffee, that's the same thing. What's 3 things that you want to do this year to help you make more money, give you more of your time back, or a combination of those? And they'll say what those things are. If they've been thinking about it, then I can really easily come back to them and say, and how are you going to do that? And if they don't have an answer, I can say, well, I'd love to show you some things, some systems, some programs we have in place that can help you get to that where you want to go. And it's about them. Everybody has a different goal, right? I meet people all the time that say, I want to sell 150 houses a year. And I'm thinking to myself, you're nuts. But hey, that's their goal, right? And then I'll meet with somebody that says, I'm a retired fireman or I'm a fireman, and I'd just like to make maybe an extra $60,000 to $100,000 a year. I cringe when a new agent comes in and says to me, I'm so excited about real estate. I can't wait to do it. And I'm going to be 24/7. And I'm like, boy, you don't even know what you just said, because 24/7 means you're answering the phone no matter where you are. And when you do that in the middle of a date night with your wife or your spouse, and you answer the phone and get up and go to a showing, you've just ruined your life. I try to teach them to put boundaries in place. And you can do that if you have systems. If you don't have systems, you got to be 24/7, right? But if you have systems and set boundaries of how you work, then you can tell your clients that and they'll know that. How many times you called your attorney on a Friday night at 8:30 at night and had him answer the phone?
Yeah, never. Well, and luckily I haven't had to.
Good. Yeah, I probably should have said accountant.
Yeah. If I'm calling my attorney at Friday night at 8, something bad happened that day. Okay, they agree. How do you help them? How do you onboard them? How do you assimilate them into the culture? How do you help them be successful and stick around?
Well, and that's part of our system. I have a whole team developed a way for us to onboard them so that when they come on board, we get everything from them. They fill out a one-page thing, and then it gets us their social security, their tax number, their address. We use a system called Dot Loop for processing payroll and managing electronic signatures. When they sign up with us, we have a series of videos that will go out to them that says, okay, welcome to Equity. Here's how you log into our back end, which we call Elevate. And then here's how you sign into this. Here's how you sign into that. Here's how you do those particular things. We have to do it where it's automatic for us, because I mean, just this year so far, I was looking at numbers right before we got on. We've recruited 240 agents this year. We have those systems, and that helps the agent understand every tool that we give them. We do lots of trainings. Some of my brokers and my broker assistant will meet with that person coming on board for maybe an hour and walk them through the different systems. But we know we've got to be able to have them have the opportunity to get to those systems when we're not around. That's where our onboarding systems and what we have in place with YouTube stations and channels that people can find answers to their stuff. We have a hotline. If our broker isn't available, they call a hotline. They leave their message there. They get a call back from that broker or another broker that he's hired to answer those questions so that he can take some time off. So there's lots of things that we do, but the onboarding part of it is super important, because if you can get them onboarded correctly, really what you want them doing out there, Jim, is you want them talking to people, solving their real estate issues, listing and selling property. You don't want them doing tons of paperwork. We help them through our systems, make it easier for them. Yeah.
So when do you know you've hired somebody that's a keeper and it was a great hire? Is it 3 months, 6 months? And what do you want to see? Wow, that one, like your iron worker, like that guy was a great hire.
Well, he was hungry. He was really hungry. So I think that's really important if you're looking for a new agent, but it doesn't have to be a new agent, because we've got agents now that have been in the industry for a long time that had a bad 2 years. And so I'm looking for somebody that's hungry, that's going to show up to our trainings, whether they're online or in person. They show up and they're interested in learning the ways to sell real estate in this type of world that we're in right now. So there's been some changes. There's been some NAR stuff that's gone on. So a lot of times people get a little frustrated because they don't know exactly what it is that they're trying to do. And with us, it's like, I need you to show up. I need you to come to the trainings. And I want you to, even if you're not coming to them live, do I know that you're logging in and watching them afterwards? Are they going to show up? Are they going to work hard? I'm not going to say, I've told agents all the time, you can dress in a clown suit and stand out in front of the building here with a sign that says, I sell homes. Somebody one day will stop who loves clowns, and you're going to sell a home. But that's probably not the best way. So we try to give them different options. We try to work on different ways that they can do that. And then we let them pick, because everybody's going to be different. Somebody's going to be more comfortable on the phone than they are maybe door knocking or sending out flyers or doing events. I have agents that just do events. They invite their sphere and they buy a movie or they take them bowling, and they just have events. They just have fun with their people. just kind of looking that way. When I know they're being successful is one, obviously we're seeing things close and things happen that way. But if they're not doing that, at least I know they're showing up and trying. Because I know with my ironworker guy the other day, I said, man, you're having a hell of a year. This is his best start of the year. He's having his best year ever. And I said, what did you attribute it to? He says, I just never slowed down in planting seeds with my clients that I'm there to help them.
Yeah, the prospecting, which is tough for an agent, but it also is for the recruiter on recruiting, right? It takes a while for them to nurture and grow.
And I tell agents that too. I say, very seldom have I ever had that happen where I call you and say, hey, Jim, you want to sell your house? And you're like, let's do it. It takes some time. So you have to always continually nurture and do all that. How long do you think we'll be? I've got a couple of recruits out there that are coming.
Oh, great insights. Maybe just like the final question would be like looking back, right? You've progressed a long ways in your career. There's probably some people listening that are a little earlier in their career. Maybe they just put out a shingle. They've just decided to become a managing broker, and want to progress. Looking back, what are some of the things you wish you knew earlier that would have accelerated your progress to where you are now?
Absolutely. And I believe this, and I'm kind of a slow learner when it comes to this stuff. I did a lot of cold calling and door knocking and FISBOs and expireds, and I was on the phone constantly. I remember one time sitting down at the end of the year, because I like to do this with data, and I said, okay, where did I close my transactions? 80% of my transactions came from people that knew me, liked me, trusted me. It's where 80% of my business came. And the other 20% came from the other stuff. My big aha for me was I was spending 90% of my time chasing that 20% of my business.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do this year is focus more on building relationships, doing what we talked about, dating my clients first, working with them, planting seeds, being there for them to answer the real estate questions when they have them, and being there for them to be the professional so that they don't feel like, because most people don't understand real estate and it's the biggest investment of their life. And so I wanted to be the professional for that. So guess what happened? I gained 90% more time and I did more business because I was just dealing with the people that knew me, liked me, and trusted me. When I found somebody new, my job was to teach them to know me, like me, and trust me as the expert in the industry. I would learn the industry, be that expert in the industry, and I would just focus on the people that you know and then branch from there. And always never be afraid, if you're taking good care of people, to say, I'm trying to build my business through a referral network of people that know me, like me, and trust me and want to refer me. And so I would love, if you were to refer somebody, would you be that person? Would you refer me? And if they say yes, now you've got yourself an advocate. Now you can build on it. If you do that, your business will grow. It may not be speedy. It may not be overnight. You're going to be closing 100 homes.
Right.
In 5 years, 10 years, you can make good money in this industry. Just remember, I said the part-time, firefighter or nurse or something wants to make an extra 60 to 100,000. You could do that in this industry now. The prices are high enough that you can sell 6 homes and make 60 grand in commissions. Don't think that you have to set those goals high, set them realistic, and then just always watch what you're doing and get better each time.
For all the listeners, everything you said applies on the sales side, but also as the broker, right? Wanting to progress from sales into building a business and hiring agents below you, all of the same things apply, right?
It applies in any business, Jim. Anybody, if somebody's out there opening up a place that sells washing machines, it's just taking care of that client and then making sure that when you take care of that client and you stay top of mind with them, that you just ask them that, hey, this is how I've chose to grow my business rather than go out there and door knock and call and do all this. I've chose to take care of my clients. And if you know somebody that I can help as much as I helped you, I would love to help them. And you'll grow like crazy.
Love it. Love it. Well, Tony, that's it for the discussion today. Thank you so much for joining. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. And we hope you gained some wisdom out of some of the stories Tony said. I want all of you to kind of think about, what can you apply? What are a couple of things you could apply in your business next week? Tune in again and have a great day, everyone.
See you.